So, welcome to all Velwalas and the folks from inner planets and the belts. The strength of the audience we know is half the size of this panel over here. To all you 1.5 people, welcome to Remember the Cant podcast about the show Expanse. So, in the previous episode, we discussed the intro and what you can expect jumping into this wide world of the show. In this, we'll discuss episode one. We all have watched episode one and we have resisted going into episode two. So, with me, I have Bala and Parvati.
Hi everyone.
Hey,
So, we can start directly at the episode. How should we go? Let's start with that.
Okay. I've seen this, I think this episode, I'm seeing it for the third time now. So I know pretty well. At least I thought I knew this episode very well. But then I noticed a few things that I hadn't noticed before. For me, one thing was they introduced the world very well. To me, the world building was the fact that this is space, this is 23rd century, that's what comes in the scrolling credits itself. Yeah. This was done for me supremely well. For me, that's introduction to a strange worlds. Even though Earth, we know it's New York, we can see, or at least seems like New York, but that's where the familiarity stops. The rest of it is all completely alien, something very spacey and all that. So I like the way they introduce you to that. Not only that, they're not wasting any time trying to introduce the conflicts also from screen one, from frame one, we are starting to see the conflicts and what's at stake. Everything is right there, right? So there's no lull time, there's no pause time, you just get into that whole thing. So for me, this was really good with episode one that way. That's my short take on what you just asked. Parvati, what about you?
the prologue scared me. First of all, you have someone there and then something happens to it. It was all very quick. And I really liked how they introduced the setting because you have a space opera and it makes the story is pretty clear, as in you are not going to leave the solar system. And that was made very clear right at the start. This is going to showcase a conflict between three different factions within our own solar system. There are no pointy-eared aliens over here. You've got humans fighting each other. And I thought that was very well established right at the start. Also, it somehow manages to capture a sort of darkness to it. The aspect of space travel, even though you're still within the solar system, it's all so dark. And I also liked that however much humanity progresses, we always find a scapegoat. And in this case, it is the Belters who want to rebel and kind of create a civil war. The whole episode was pretty chilling. It was interesting, and it also ended on a very touching note for me. What about you, Sumit?
Yeah, I felt it was a great pilot. I did not remember the words on the screen, Star Wars-esque words on the screen to establish the setting and the conflict. Uh, but it was surprising how into the world they throw us directly. There is no hand-holding on the language, on the culture of the people over there. You know that you are entering a lived-in world. Like the world has been lived in, has the conflicts has been happening for centuries. And so you know that this is not something that they have not thought about. You are entering a world which is well thought out, and the world is fascinating that way.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. The fact that even the theme, I noticed that what do you call it, the theme music with the opening credits, right? So even that you're led to different parts of it. You later, of course, see where all of this ties: the Martian atmosphere, the colonies of Luna, all that comes later. But all of that you see some snap of or a spacewalker, all that is shown. The what do you call the flip and burn, right? So they do that. They also show a little bit of that. There's this, you see a trawler or a spaceship going here and there. You can see all of that right at the opening credits itself. Then of course it starts off, it doesn't start with that world, it actually starts with a very close space, which is Julie's space, right? So
Yeah.
for me, that's the exact opposite of the Expanse, where she's totally constrained. She doesn't have water. She doesn't have the gravity, the slow-mo effect, the weightlessness, all that. You're led into that. Before all of that, for me, it was a contrast, which I thought I actually didn't remember a whole lot except her screaming at the end. Rest all were this boo kind of scary moments. That was it. But this time when I saw it, I noted the finer points of what she's trying to do, why is she, and still suspense, right? So you don't know why she is there. Who is this person? What's this ship? What's it doing there? The bigger things of that.
It
What were
also
your,
had that
yeah.
horror element into it. The first Julie scene were pure horror, pure. If you are afraid of being lost in space, here you go.
It is very claustrophobic also,
Yeah,
especially when she goes down into the engineering bay and she sees those lights and then somebody being sucked into the vortex. And those scenes were very frightening. And I like how they showed an advancement of technology, but you still manage to get yourself killed in the most gruesome of ways. They showed that,
yeah,
and they throw you right into those scenes. It was quite effective, also very unsettling. The prologue was very, very unsettling.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I think usually that's what they say. The high concept should be there in your inciting episode. So there's the dangers of space. It's kind of a slasher, like what Sumit said. It was like a slasher thing. You can see those blood marks here and there. There are
Yes.
things that are just floating around. There's a spacesuit that's thrown at your face. And then she's trying to escape. And water just is not water like in a faucet or in a bottle, but it's actually, droplets floating. And then, of course, the new reactor and this crazy thing, the colorful lights, which has a name later on. We will talk about it when they give it a name. Right now, it's just colorful, twinkly things seem very alien-esque. And of course, she's crying for help. I think that high concept of the entire series is captured in that inciting incident itself, as it should, and it has done a good job of that.
As a matter of fact, I was actually thinking when I saw those scenes and when I heard her screaming, I was wondering, I was just sitting rooted to the spot, watching, wondering what's coming next. I don't know whether I was sitting there out of pure horror or terror or whether I wanted to actually know what was coming next because it was pretty intimidating. Those scenes were really, they kind of capture your attention. I don't know whether in a good or a bad way, but it does.
yeah. The job of the first scene in a pilot, especially, is to raise a lot of questions.
Yes.
And that particular scene raised a lot of questions, and you had that playing in the back of your mind when you go into the next scene, which is on the belt with
Yeah.
Thomas Jane's character. What's his name?
Josephus Miller.
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 Yeah.
Can we move to the belt? It is a very interesting way of introducing the politics of the belt by showing us the speech of a rebel and his,
Yeah,
very passionate words. We got introduced to Belter Creole through his speech. We got an idea of what was going on through his speech. And we also got introduced to Miller through his speech because he called
Right.
him a traitor.
yeah,
Very, very
Velwala.
clever exposition. Yes, exactly. So rather than everybody knows that in that world, everybody knows that the belters are exploited. But how do you communicate to the person who's watching this for the first time? You have to have a hate speech.
Brilliant writing that, yeah. In
Too
a
good.
concise way, they set up the conflict of that world, how the belters are exploited, everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And it
And
also
and
showed
this
their anger.
and this news
Yeah,
flash which says, oh, water and air is on ration or something like that. There's a flash.
Yes.
They show it by the
Yes.
side. And the technology of this guy, I don't know if they show it in this. They actually attach something through the throat, and that becomes like the broadcasting thing. You don't need
yes,
an amplifier
Mike or
thing. Yeah,
anything. Yeah,
mic kind of a thing. Miller's partner is another guy who's, I think, introduced to do some more exposition, because again, Wala, everyone there knows except this guy, right? The other
yeah.
says, "What
This
the
is
heck?"
our stand-in. This guy is our
Yeah.
the audience stand-in
Right.
And
in this
utterly
case.
clueless. He doesn't know what's
Yeah,
happening. Total greenhorn, just like us, because we're also discovering the whole thing.
yeah,
So that was a clever ploy. Also, have a partner who's from Earth. I thought he looked, the South American, and then his name is Dimitri. It turns out he's a I don't know,
yes.
Spanish/Mexican actor. J.
What's-
Hernandez, I think. That's his name. Yeah. So
We're also
yeah,
introduced to the OPA. The OPA is mentioned. Something called
Yes,
Medina
yes.
is mentioned.
correct.
It's
Right.
just a lot of things are mentioned.
Mm.
I've made a list of all the Indianisms. Like there are sitar flute music playing in the bar.
Oh, yes, in the bar, I
Yes,
noted
yes.
that.
Yeah.
I noted
True,
that.
true.
Yes, yes, yes.
And when we transition to from this to the Cant, title of the podcast, to
Please note,
we
the title has been mentioned.
mentioned
Yes. We lived up to the title.
I liked a lot. I had forgotten that this had a sitar version also. Tighten Up by the Black Keys. There's a
Mm.
when you pan to the Canterbury,
Okay, okay.
Tighten Up by the Black
Yeah.
Keys plays with there's sitar playing in the background also.
Okay. This I didn't notice the
Mm.
transition. Yeah. I noted that they showed the Canterbury from all sides. You have the ice and these two guys doing some maintenance work, and the fellow loses
Yeah.
his arm, right? Part of the
Mm.
arm. Yeah.
Yeah. Which
And he
went
was
floating
very
off into space. Very gruesome.
Yeah. So also that's another introduction that there are going to be things like that,
Yeah.
people losing limbs, but big deal. You
very
can
chill
get it.
about it.
He actually seemed pretty thrilled. Maybe the upgrade is better than his
Yeah.
original arm.
Yeah. It's just
I,
showing
I
us.
I wonder if there will be a ship of Theseus situation happening there if all of your
Yeah.
body parts are upgraded. What are you?
What are you?
Yeah. Miller's cap hat, I didn't realize why he wears that. So he says that that's
Keeps
part
the rain off my head.
correct. That's part
Yeah,
romantic.
correct.
That he longs for the rain. Later we know
Yeah.
about that he really longs for the rain, and he's actually a romantic at heart because he's easily swayed by one kid coughing, and that's it. He's from receiving bribes to his punishing the guy who gave him a bribe in the first place, right? For not
Yeah.
doing his job. All it took
Yeah.
him was that little bird and this kid coughing, and that was it. It flipped him around.
The Han Solo anti-hero kind of rogue hero
Yeah.
kind of
Rogue hero kind of.
archetype.
It
Yeah.
makes it very difficult for the people who are dealing with him, especially that guy
Yeah.
he was doing. He had shady dealings with regarding the the air
Vargas.
filters. Yeah.
Yeah.
First, in one scene, he's friendly with him and whispering stuff to him. In the next scene, he gets punched, thrown around, put in a torture chamber. It's
Almost got spaced out, yes.
yeah, completely.
Air is good.
Air is good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Uh,
liked Miller's intro in the whole thing, and through that Earther, right? So he finds out
Yeah.
all those things with that, and he's entering. Has he entered Julie Mao's apartment? No, he's just did that, or was it that his own
no,
apartment?
it's his own
His
apartment.
own apartment.
The
Yes,
Okay.
it's
bird,
his own
where he
apartment. Yeah.
sees the bird,
It's
that's his own
his own
apartment.
apartment. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we are shown some indications of his incoming obsession with Julie and this
Yes.
case.
Correct.
Because he does tend to obsess over things, spend too much time thinking, pondering, and then getting himself into bigger and bigger trouble.
Yeah, and he also slips out that hey, everybody, including the top guys, keep receiving money, and this is the way things are here in the
Yeah.
belt. One more revelation for me again this time that I was making notes was that Ceres is a UN protectorate, which means that they're answerable to Earth more than Mars. Even though Mars wants just the same resources that Earth does, I think this is going to be important for them. And
Even
I
the
think
bell is under
yeah. Hmm.
Earth's control, right?
correct,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's
I also found something the Belters think about very interesting. They said that it doesn't matter if it's Earth or Mars, they're going to be, slaves anyhow. Whoever's in charge,
Yeah.
they're going
right.
to be mistreated.
Yeah. Actually, that also brings out Miller's inner conflict, as in his boss, ultimate boss, is
Yeah.
Earth, but he has to keep these belters in check. They used to say this about the police force pre-independence in India, right? So they were trained so that they can keep the Indians at bay, but their
Yeah.
ultimate bosses were the Britishers. So they had to, that was their inner conflict. I could see a similar parallel here with Miller's character. That is a cop. He has to keep things in check, but he's also a local guy.
Not that the locals appreciate him very much because
Yeah,
he's
that's the other
yeah,
part of the conflict.
yes.
He has his spine infused at the top of his
Yes.
back, right?
They call it a ridge or something, but it's a modification to help him adjust to the gravity of Ceres, apparently.
So he is born there on the
On
back,
there.
yes,
yeah.
he's never
But
left Ceres. In fact,
isn't it
you come to
implied
know
that
later.
he's got some kind of privilege because of those spinal ridges? He little more than the average belter is what I inferred. I could be wrong.
That bartender talks about cheap bone juice, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, bone density juice or something like that.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
guess they're all given some kind of supplement so that their bone density is more than if you had no gravity, right? So one of the things that the people in space station, they have to keep weight training because the lack of gravity. And the other thing that they have to go through is calcium supplements because they lose a lot of bone weight. So
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
with the low gravity. By the way, I read on what is that, the Wikipedia for the Expanse. They've talked about how Ceres had to be kept on a rotating motion so that it provides a low gravity. I didn't realize that actually Ceres was on a centrifuge like that. It behaved like a centrifuge so that everybody can have some kind of gravity and they don't need magnetic boots to even move around the station.
When they show the scene where the UN Undersecretary is dealing with a Belter prisoner, you can see the impact of that gravity and how much it has changed the Belter physiology.
Yeah.
That guy is struggling so much with Earth's gravity, which everybody takes for granted. And he's struggling, he's getting pulled in all directions, he's not able to talk, he's not able to breathe. It shows how much they changed and adapted to the lesser gravity of the belt.
Actually, yeah, the torture is nothing but doing nothing. So just
Yes.
have him sit outside. This fellow is tortured automatically. So that was interesting, that whole idea of introducing the character of Christian and also, telling us what torture really means for a person who is in another place. I think that
Yeah.
I don't want to reveal a lot here, but the same thing happens to Martians also who visit the Earth later on.
She also seems to take pride in her fashion because she has big earrings and a sari-like outfit, I guess.
Okay.
Like
Very
Christian's
different from
introduction also I liked because
Yeah.
she's shown to be, if someone is going into it fresh, she's shown to be like a doting grandmother,
Correct.
and there's the happy family life, greenery
Yes.
all around. It's like happy, happy, happy things. Then she's doing this Guantanamo
Yeah,
thing on this.
exactly. And telling them to leave him there for 10 hours, and if he lives, we'll
Yeah.
take do whatever it is.
Yeah, that
That is
was
required.
solid introduction.
All of these main characters, right? Miller, Holden, and Christian. Like these are the
Yeah.
three viewpoints that we have, right? Whatever they're shown in the first few minutes, their original character is revealed later. Like Miller is like shown to take bribes and stuff, but he's a
Yeah.
good guy. Holden, he starts off as like whatever my office captain says, I'll do it. That kind of a subordinate, but then he defies that. And even
Yeah.
Christian, the doting grandmother and loyal family, and then this torture machine. I
Yeah,
liked how they played around with that for all three of these characters.
yeah, that
Not one of them is cardboard cutout. They're all
Yeah,
so deep. To the beginning, it's established that they're all pretty deep and complex characters.
yeah,
Nobody's flat.
that brings me to that whole Canterbury and its crew. Uh, Particularly our characters of Amos, Naomi, Holden, of course, Alex, a little
Yeah.
bit of Shed, right? We all see some
Right.
trait of theirs, which is definitely, I mean, you see that Alex is cheerful. He takes his job. I mean, he's very good at his job, but he starts making it very light around him. He's wearing a headphones when he's supposed to be flying, a friggin' trawler or whatever that was, right? And Amos has a gun. For crying out loud, he takes a gun with him to just scout around. And of course,
Yeah.
Holden hates it. You see that aspect of it. And then you see Naomi fixing the elevator just by a jab of her hand. She does that. It doesn't work, give it a jab, boom.
The Canterbury actually looks so old and rickety that you expect it to come apart at one sneeze.
Yeah.
It looks so old.
As opposed to other space movies and shows,
Yeah.
this is not clean at all. This is
No, it is not.
horrible. It's cramped, it's dark,
Terrible, horrible.
probably smells
Yeah.
also.
It looks it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Particularly that Exo's room. They show the Exo's room
Oh,
inside.
Yeah,
yes.
I had forgotten that EXO was Jonathan Banks. If you haven't you've seen Breaking Bad.
Absolutely. Suddenly he shows up there. He has a what fleet. I don't think he comes again at all. That's
No,
it.
he's just taken
That's
out
it.
of there. That's
Yeah,
it.
that's it, right? The Canterbury is destroyed, so he's gone with that.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah. Or was he taken out from that ship?
No, I don't
or
think
to
so.
a
I
med
don't
bay
think
over
so.
there.
Probably
No.
a sick bay or something. Yeah, that's it.
And that one scene where the Canterbury actually has to accelerate, it was painful. It's really painful to watch. Space operas.
But here it's like the whole thing has to move around in
Yeah,
complicated.
it's like watching auto rickshaw wala do that pulling. It's so painful. Like, why are you?
And it's also got the bumps and jolts, and you have to prevent yourself from getting sick.
And they see this, one of the levers actually comes off, right? There's a
Yeah.
huge, what do you call it? A cantilever or something just breaks off, and God knows what else is broken. But still, it just goes on. 50,000 miles, no problem. I can get this rickety thing going.
Yeah. There is space, for God's sake.
Yeah.
It must be the bullock cart of space because it looks like it. It's rattling so much.
And it's trying to grab a ice cube and it just
Yeah.
crumbles there, right there. A guy loses his hand. Oh, no problem.
No problem. I'll get a prosthetic, a nice one.
Yeah. And even there, he is like, I'm faithful to my belt. And I would rather have something that is cheaply made.
Correct.
Made in like their version of Atmanirbhar. Make in India.
Made in the belt, nowhere else.
Made in the
Made
belt.
in the belt.
It needs a stamp.
It doesn't work, but yeah.
Yes. It needs a nice holographic stamp so that we know.
Canterbury was the ultimate one. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was.
So this whole rule bending thing, right? I don't want to lose my bonus. Somebody's crying for help. Who cares? I want my bonus.
Scrub the logs.
Yeah.
What do they
It
call
was
it?
Pirate Bait.
Pirate Bait.
And dear Holden goes and undoes the whole thing in secret because
his girlfriend said so. She said something. She rolled her eyes and said, "Oh, is that what you're going to do to SOS? Maybe I'll also be in trouble, and you'll do the same thing to me."
Yeah, boy, was she in trouble at the end of it. Thanks to him.
Yeah. When he does that, when he sends that message, there is a rat behind him.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I did notice that.
Which is very on the nose. And when in the later scene someone asks who is the rat,
Yeah.
like
Who's the rat?
yeah,
Correct.
They actually show a snap of that, right? Of Holden and the rat behind.
It's
The
like
guy
that.
takes a look.
Yeah.
They show a shot of the rat. Then they take their time.
Just think of it. We are in a rat-infested, rickety old ship in deep space. The horror.
In The Departed, at the end of The Departed, they show a literal rat. Everyone is a rat in that movie. Like everyone is ratting on each other. So I think that it's like an homage to that particular scene. But on the space or in space, you have rat-infested spaceship.
Yeah, and what I also liked was this. Even small things like Holden hating the coffee. Right? He takes a sip and says, "Oh God, this is really bad.
Yeah.
Can somebody get me a better coffee than this?" I hope Ceres has better coffee than this. That's all he cares about, right?
Yeah.
Just copies. Trying to
Little
focus on
things.
the small things. Yep.
If his girlfriend wasn't there to change his or align his internal compass, I don't think he would have done anything about this.
Yeah, captain says, you heard the captain, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Purge it, slap it on the neck, oncoming, heavenly body, and be done with that message. That's what you
And I
do.
also think she just gave him something to think about. He took it way too literally,
Yeah.
bent all the rules, and then got everyone into trouble because of it.
When also there's once when the XO is taken away, someone says, "So it goes," which is a reference to, I think it's a reference to Slaughterhouse-5,
Oh,
Vonnegut.
wow.
Yeah.
So it's a famous, whenever someone dies over there, they say, "So it goes, so it
So
goes."
it goes, okay.
And who knew that that person is also going to die along with the whole ship?
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
Uh,
Uh,
that was great.
From the bell
Um,
to Cant to Earth, then it goes back and forth pretty smoothly. I did not
Yeah.
I was
feel
going to
it was
ask you,
jarring.
what did you guys feel about that? The cut from between characters, between worlds. They're doing this back and forth, the three worlds.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about that?
I thought it was pretty smoothly done because usually when you transition from one character to another and you're watching something for the first time, you tend to get really confused, especially since these three people are in three different places and they have different roles, they're different ages, they have different
Positions.
positions, and their work is different. It still managed to do it very clearly because by the time you're done with each transition, you know that Holden is like this, you know that the UN undersecretary is like this, you know Miller is this way. So I think it
Yeah.
was done well. It was done well. And you also find that each of them has their own conflict. They have their own unique ways of dealing with things, whether it's being sneaky or putting somebody into a torture chamber or punching them or, just leaving them to die on a different gravity because she can.
Sumit, what do you think? You started that whole thing.
Yeah, I really liked how it flowed throughout the whole episode
Hmm.
because it limited us to just three locations, Earth, Belt, and the Cant.
Correct.
So I knew that it was going to go back to one of these. It's not, if it introduced one more thing, then it would have been confusing.
Yes.
But these three, and there's a central character in all of these three locations. So it made it easy to follow the story through their eyes.
Yeah,
I
I
felt
guess
it
when the
was
fourth
done
one
well, yeah.
showed up, they had to destroy the fourth one. Canterbury had to go because we have no four
Yeah.
location. So the night was there and then two location. Canterbury's extra guys destroyed.
So it also shows a bit of, how the earth has got all of these politics. They're pulling the strings, they're doing all of these things with power, soft power. Mars is the military power, which they showed through those torpedoes that the
Yeah.
people in the night, including Holden, thought that the Martian torpedo was coming after them, but they were too clever for that. It bypassed them and went straight to the Canterbury, which nobody guessed that they would do. It shows their military prowess. It shows how the Earth deals with people from other planets. And it also shows the Belters caught in between these two superpowers.
For me, the transition, going back to the transitions again, I thought they ramped it up, left it at a point, and then went on to the next one to again ramp it
Yeah.
up. So that was the beat.
Yeah.
I thought they did quite well. So now you're still wondering, okay, now what's she going to do after this 10 hours of torture? So what is she going to do? So now that's the ramp up point. Now Miller is now they're stranded in this. Now what's going to happen? Holden is trapped in the night
Yeah.
with this debris clearly seen headed towards this little bug-like thing. We saw that the Canterbury is huge, and there's what did she call it? A flying tea kettle, right? So that's it doesn't have the
Yeah.
Epstein drive. It's a tiny
Yeah.
thing. We know it's going to be caught really badly. So we already see that trouble is in the way. So the way they ramped up, stopped, ramped up, stopped. That was for me the it set the rhythm. How they're going to show this from now on.
Mm.
And of course,
Yeah.
we still have no clue what's this copyright all about. Why was Julie on it? Like Sumit mentioned, there are a lot of questions asked.
Yeah.
And I
A lot
don't
of
think
questions.
we really get to know the complete story till the end of season one. I think that's when you at least know a little bit of what's going on. again, there's still will be unanswered question because you want people to watch season 2. But season 1 had some questions answered only in the finale. I don't think it got completely answered before that.
And I really liked how Naomi looked daggers at Holden when he confessed to her that he was the one who sent those signals to HQ without anyone knowing, got the ships diverted. In a
He
way,
thought
he
she would
is
understand.
responsible. Yeah. He
Yeah.
is also responsible for getting the Canterbury destroyed because he did that one underhand thing that was driven by conscience.
The entire crew is lost.
Yeah.
The guys that he hung out with for what 5 years, pretty much it
Correct.
became his home, and he's not ready to leave it. So he's
Mm.
definitely destined to become the next captain. And
Mm.
here it was lost, and his
Yeah.
girlfriend along with it. So
I'm
all that.
currently reading this manga called Monster, where this surgeon saves this little boy against the orders from his bosses.
Mm.
And then the boy grows up to become a serial killer of sorts.
Oh boy.
My
So
God.
he's racked with guilt. This goes after.
Yeah.
So it kind of is in that realm also that Holden feels that he has done the right thing. Eventually, throughout the whole show, maybe he has or hasn't done the right thing, but he has taken this stand and he has to live with the consequences of his
He has to
choices.
live with the consequences. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
which is a heavy guilt that he has to carry in his heart throughout his life.
He's a little impulsive because you never know what he's going to do. He might take a decision now and then he takes a split second decision later based on something someone said and then changes
Yeah.
his entire perspective on things. He's flexible that way, but also a little, inconsistent, unpredictable.
Like, I read somewhere that Holden is heavily inspired by Don Quixote and
Makes
his
sense.
story. That's why the first, I don't know if the name of the episode comes anywhere, Dulcinea.
No, it doesn't.
No.
That's supposed to be Don Quixote's girlfriend
Right.
Yeah.
or the one or the woman that he is interested in. And Rocinante is, of course, his Don Quixote's horse.
Oh, okay, okay.
It is.
So he's not that much of an idiot.
He's just impulsive.
He's
Very, very
impulsive
Yeah.
and he draws command from other people. He can order people around.
People listen to him. It's not
Yeah.
like, he gives commands and then everybody just decides to defy him. They will listen to him because he does have that aura of command. He is able to
Yeah.
get people to follow him and be loyal to him while also being slightly mad.
Yeah. Although Dulcinea, I think also because he lost his girlfriend in the
Yeah.
Cant.
Question to you.
subtle,
What do you think she was going to say? She says, Jim, I have something to
Yeah.
tell you. And then the whole thing gets destroyed. So we're never going to find out. But what would be your guess?
I
I'm
love
not
you.
going to ship out. I love you. Okay. That's a normal
Not
Bollywood thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably, you idiot, you're going to get us all killed.
Or
I found out that it is you who sent us to this hell.
Yeah. But
It's all
it
your
felt
fault.
like
Yeah.
it felt like she was giving some vital piece of information and then
Yeah.
The thing just
It
blanked
cut
out.
off. It just blacked out because she was frozen kind of in some of those scenes, when the torpedoes were heading towards the Canterbury and she wasn't able to respond as quickly. So maybe she did get some information that she wanted to share, but by then the torpedoes had hit. Everything ended.
Yeah.
Okay, something about the torpedoes and
Yeah.
the ship.
And probably Mars.
Okay. Yeah, I think the Christians episode with the contraband stealth tech, the ship that was found was stealth, and Alex concluding that this is Mars technology.
Yeah.
And OPA involved in it. So this is
Mm.
like a four-way thing. Now we're supposed to make those connections.
Right.
One would conclude that Mars is working with OPA to spark off this war, because that's the prologue which says, all it requires is a spark, and this is probably explosion of the Canterbury.
OPA is the Belter Revolution faction, right?
Yeah.
What does
Right.
it stand
Correct.
for?
Outer Planets Alliance.
alliance.
They
Outer
don't
Planets
mention this
Alliance.
throughout. Like, what is the
Mm.
other one? RPC? No, something like that. There's a railgun is one. There's the other thing that they
Yeah.
fire, right? It keeps going. That one is called
Mm.
RPC or something like that. And that's also never expanded throughout the series. Same thing like OPA. You just refer to it as OPA. Even, in
OPA.
fact, they show some tattoos that has just the OPA written on it. So that's it.
You know, something is from this episode, you can't really say who's fighting against who and who's allied against with whom, because everybody seems to be in conflict. So you might think that, okay, this faction has been aligned with the other one, but it may not be the case because you don't know where things are going, and that is
Yeah.
easy, you know, based on suspicion. That suspicion can be the spark for
True,
war.
yeah. As is the real world, right? The real
Yeah,
world conflicts are
Yeah.
always never A versus B. We would like
right,
to think and simplify it, but it's
right.
always much more, I don't know, muddled up that you cannot really
Yeah,
find
this
out
whole
who's friend,
thing,
who's enemy.
the core of the story can be pulled down and set in Bombay somewhere. Like
Correct.
it's like
Yeah,
belters are the underworld, that kind of. That's the Dharavi's belters, and
yeah. It
like
shows
that.
that, you know,
Yeah,
humanity manages to mess up just about everything, whether it's a
everything
planet or
everywhere. Yeah,
or the solar system. We are going to go to war and suspect each other and get into all kinds of trouble.
Ah.
yeah.
Predictions for the episode 2.
When Miller goes to the bar at the towards the end, and he
Mm.
meets that woman, there is another Indian music playing. It's by Indian artists only. It's called Tor or something, instrumental.
Oh, oh,
I think
really?
the
Ah,
bartender really likes Indian music.
Oh, by the way, the dead guy's name is something Chatterjee, Bomi Chatterjee or something. They show a dead guy,
ah,
right?
yes, yes, they do. That's
Yes.
at the beginning, right? Towards the beginning of the episode.
Yes, when Miller's
Yeah,
character is introduced is
correct. Yeah.
when they have this dead guy. So that I didn't know that. I saw that in that the wiki fandom wiki. What other finer points did you notice? For me, this rat was a new one. I probably it just slipped my mind. But this time I did make a note of it. That they showed a rat, and then this woman talks about who's the rat.
For me, I think it was probably the little bird because,
Hmm.
you know, you would think that when you move to a place as harsh and violent as the belt, you wouldn't have nature, but somehow humanity has found a way to take nature with it, and the bird has adapted. It's a bird that is living in low gravity in an enclosed space, and it seems quite happy. And I thought that was a very sweet touch to the entire thing. It's also
I
singing. Yeah.
Going with the rest of what is there in the belt, I don't know if it's a real bird or is it a mechanical one because the
It
rest of
looks
the
real.
animal
Mm.
life or bird life that they show is
Yeah.
all mechanical.
Right, but it was a nice touch, I think,
Yeah,
because
I agree. I agree with that.
yeah, it shows that longing for what was, also probably missing the earth and nature
Hmm.
and whatever was on the
Hmm.
planet, and they are disconnected from the whole thing.
Hmm. What about you, Sumit? Did you
Yeah.
notice some finer points?
Yeah, after a rat and a bird, I was thinking of another animal. If there's another animal which shows up,
I
uh,
don't know. I don't
no,
remember
I
seeing
don't think
any.
so. Last message being there and it being cut off like that.
Hmm.
So maybe that will play in the back of my mind
Hmm.
throughout the season when I
Oh,
watch
there's
it.
one more thing that I noticed. That is towards the end when Holden says she's gone. You don't know whether he's referring to the Canterbury or to his girlfriend. It
Ah,
could be
Yes.
either one of them, or it could be both.
Yeah, they nuked her.
Yeah,
Is it the Canterbury or is it Ade? We don't
yeah.
yeah.
know.
We don't know who he's referring to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When
And
they're going from the Cant, also one thing I noticed that they juice themselves. I That was not explained, and maybe they will never. Like, what
they,
is it?
no, they do, they do. There is
I
a
also did.
whole flashback about Epstein's drive and why you need that. That's going to
Mm.
come, I don't know,
To
somewhere.
strengthen your spine or something? Or
You can pass out and because
ah,
at high G you almost weigh like what 400 500 kilograms. That's the
Right.
amount of pressure on you. So in order for your bones and everything to fight back, they have this drug cocktail that's injected into your spine
Yeah.
directly.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
that's I don't know, they don't explain it like this is what it is and all that, but
Yeah.
they show Epstein's story. What's his called? Solomon Epstein, I think that's his name. And they show his journey and then say why you need that. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to withstand the stresses with such high gravity. Yeah, they keep referring to high G and low G, right? So those are the terms that they use, high G and
Yeah.
low G. Yeah.
There's no
That's
specific number, right? Because G is supposed to be Earth.
right.
Yeah,
Earth's
Earth
G.
G.
Yeah,
Right.
one
Earth
gravity
G.
is 1 G. Fandom says 500 kilograms. That's roughly 80, let's say 70, 80 kgs of a person. That's about 7 Gs. That's about 7 to
Gs,
10
yeah.
Gs. Yeah. That's a huge force. 7 to 10 Gs is like a nano car on your chest. So that's
Yeah,
or
probably need the
three
juice,
three
yeah.
bikes,
Yeah.
yeah, 3 bikes on yourself.
Mm.
Sorry, you were saying something. So, what are predictions for episode 2? Assuming we haven't seen it, what would you predict with what went on in episode 1?
I would think that I really want to know what Holden is going to do with the information that Mars is the entity that attacked the Canterbury and destroyed it. I want to know what he's going to do with that information. Is he going to muck it up even further, or is he going to do something very subtle, or maybe he'll do something that will eventually save the entire system? Who knows? I'm just curious. I want to know how he's going to handle this, and I also would like to see in the next episode how Miller handles his growing obsession with this missing girl, Julie Mao. He seems to be kind of fixated on her. So those are two things I'm really looking forward to. Also, if the Belter survived his 10-hour torture.
Yes. No, I was also wondering, here is Miller investigating everything on Ceres, and we
Yeah.
as an audience already know that she's not there. She's
Yeah.
thousands of miles away.
Somewhere.
Not
But
even
it's not
thousands, millions
mentioned
of
that
miles.
she's,
Julie. It says, please help
yeah,
me. It says Julie. That's the
even
name.
the Amazon's info
Yeah.
card.
Correct.
Julie.
No, I
Yeah.
think Friends Forever,
They
no,
show,
her video, right?
Yes.
yeah.
That's not super clear, but you have
Yeah.
to take it. This is the same girl. I started thinking, if she's millions of miles away and this guy is on Ceres,
Yeah.
how are they? No, Ceres, I don't know where the current location of Ceres could be, anywhere on the belt. This is near Saturn. So how is it? What is he going to do? Is he going to travel all the way to Saturn and find out? Nobody even knows. She's not even there. That's what the crew from Canterbury found out. That there's nobody on board. That means Julie is not there anymore. So is she dead? What is he going to find out? What is he going to do next? That was my
The belt scene is happening on Ceres. Is it?
yes. It's
It's on the
Ceres.
station, right?
Okay.
Space.
Ceres is a
Moon of
asteroid.
Saturn, right?
No. Ceres is an asteroid.
The
So
asteroid belt.
yes, it's in the belt, and they're
Okay.
spinning it with some revolutions so that there's some gravity. They call it, at least fandom calls it a port, because they're trying to
Yeah.
dock and deliver the goods so that they can get a bonus. So the shipping
Mhm.
companies
Yeah.
are over there, and
All over
I
there.
guess
Yeah.
Earth treats it as a transit port.
Mm.
Like, I don't know, Singapore or one of those places. For me, it was the equivalent. We have our expectations for episode 2. Oh, you didn't do
I,
that. Yes, go ahead,
yeah.
Sumit.
Yeah, I just want to know how this, because we have now a rogue band of misfits, and one of them knows that Holden is the guy because of which
Yeah.
we are in this scenario, how that dynamic plays out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Naomi. She is so tough. And
Yeah.
I think Holden will really meet his match with her. It's
Oh,
incredible.
yes. Oh, yeah. In more ways than one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's quite. I mean, what does he say? Suddenly she pulls up a hand and does that, right? Some kind of gesture. Apparently, it means something. That's a typical belter gesture, apparently. This is again fandom. Source is fandom. That in the elevator scene where Amos, Naomi, and Holden are there, and she just puts her hand up and says, yeah, whatever. So I thought speak to the hand kind of a thing, but no, apparently it's a belter gesture.
It's interesting.
Yeah. See, I read fandom, from top to bottom.
Bravo.
Geeks like us out there. I learned quite a bit of what I didn't notice from you guys. Let's see. I'm waiting to see episode 2 and waiting to talk about it also. So thanks, Sumit and Parvati. Thanks to the 1.5 listeners who listened to remember the Cant or else.
Or else.
Or else.